Okay, let's get the meeting started. We're going to start with the roll call.
Ms. Hedlund,
Here.
Mr. Jacobson, Ms. Jones,
Here.
Ms. Makovsky, Mr. Morrison,
Here.
Mr. Patterson,
Here.
Ms. Salmon,
Here.
Ms. Waller.
Here.
Okay, any changes to the agenda? Okay. Next is approval of minutes of the previous meeting. Does anybody have any comments or questions about that? Okay, would someone please move? Okay, have I got a second? Okay, all in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. We have no public input, so we're going ahead with an introduction to a new member of our commission, Sarah Jones.
Yes, so this is Sarah's first meeting, and I just wanted to welcome her. It's really good to have her. I haven't seen the room so full in a while. So, Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself, maybe say a little bit something to the commission?
Okay, so pardon me for using teacher voice in conjunction with microphone. I grew up in Illinois. I went to the university. I lived downstate and up here, and then went off and traveled the world and did wild and crazy things. I have a degree in technical theater. I've painted and sculpted, and I'm looking forward to getting my welding certificate this summer, and renovated houses and done all sorts of wild and crazy things in my life. And now I'm a teacher at Urbana High School.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank
We're going to start out with some grant presentations today. Our first one is Travis Hokut from the IMC Gallery.
So I present from here with this microphone?
Mm-hmm.
So can you all see this, or do you have to turn around?
We each
in
have
order
a
to-
viewer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great. So I'm Travis Hokut. I'm the artist in residence at the Independent Media Center. So part of my responsibilities there are putting on monthly exhibitions in the gallery space, which is what I had proposed the grant money for to fund that project. So to date, I have put on 16 exhibitions in the space, although part of them was included one of my personal work this month, which wasn't covered in the grant period, although the grant has since been renewed. So it's sort of a program that predated the grant and has continued after it. So I'm just going to briefly run over those 16 exhibitions, and then I'll run through the images that I brought with me about them. So it started in January, where I had a show about the Black Lives Matter protest. So it was a collection of protest posters and then photographs from the protests here in Champaign-Urbana. And then in February, I had a show called Systems, which was my personal collection of artwork, so artwork of other artists that I have traded for or purchased. In March, I had a really exciting show from students from the Pavilion Foundation School. So I had met through a friend of a friend, one of the teachers there, and this was during the time where I was looking for, to fill in programming for, these monthly exhibitions. And I found out that they didn't actually have any art there as part of their programming. And so through the gallery, everyone in the school, all of the kids were able to make a piece and have it on display in the gallery, which was really cool. And then through that, I was actually able to go and do a couple art demos in the school to sort of restart their art program. In April, I showed my own work for the Boneyard Arts Festival, which I also did again this year. In May, I put on a show for the AP Art students from Centennial, and that will be happening again next month. In June, I showed an artist named Jam Lovell that was called The Human Endeavor. In July, I actually put on a show of Jason Patterson's work along with a lecture and book talk by Brian Dolinar. In August, I put on a show that was a group show of artists who are developmentally disabled in a community up in Chicago, and they actually got to come down for the exhibition. Another cool part about that, the guy who curated the show is one of the artists, and it was the first show he ever curated, and he's since gone through to, like, he's continued to do that. It's become part of his practice. In September, I did a comic show, and I got Nina Paley, Damian Duffy, and Grant Thomas, who are all like fairly famous comic artists, but are also local. In October, the IMC had a big anniversary celebration, and so I put together a huge collection of all of the archived photographs that anyone could bring me of the entire history of the IMC. In November, we showed Chen Shen, who's a personal friend of mine, and he's a Beijing-based photographer. Project was called Garden Metro, and it was about how his hometown has sort of been carved up by the creation of a new railroad line that runs through his hometown. December, Elizabeth Boyd Hartman sent him Cellulosa. She had 100 2x2 drawings. It was not very fun to hang. And then January, Peggy Flavin, who is a local U of I student, and she has this crazy string installation that didn't photograph very well, but I'll try to show you that. It was much cooler in person. In February this year, students from the U of I painting program each had, I think there were 12 students, and they each had 3 paintings. It was 36 2x2 foot paintings, and it was this sort of collaborative. Everyone made a painting, and then they responded to someone else's painting, and then they responded to the response. So it was kind of about communication in painting. It was a cool show. And then last month was Derek Clem, Fires in the Sky, which had to do with, his practice has a lot to do with film, and particularly like growing up here with the Ebert Fest. So I'll run through some images now. This is an image from Jason Patterson's show, and Brian Dolenar's there giving a lecture. These are some of Chen Shen's photographs, the Chinese artist. This is the first show. This is the Black Lives Matter. These are images by Jeff Putney. And then you can see a couple of the pictures of the posters. This is a piece from Systems, the group show of the art from my collection. This is actually one of my pieces, vitrine that I built. This is from Cyanographs. This is my personal work in the Boneyard show. More images from that show. These are the artists who came down from Chicago. Another image from the Black Lives Matter show. This is from the Pavilion Foundation School. There's a lot of work in that show. This was actually from, I got to give a gallery tour during my show for Out of the Mouths of Babes, which was another funded program. They came through and I got to talk to them about my project. These are the Centennial artists. This is Jam Lovell's work. Lots of crazy painting and sculpture. I think that's all of it, yeah.
Okay, great. Anybody have any comments or questions for Travis?
Well, I will, since I'd like to congratulate you and
Thank you.
thank you for all the inspiration and the efforts that you not only started but inspired others to create and continue.
I really like how you brought in parts of the community that maybe wouldn't have had a chance otherwise to display their work.
That's
It was
been
great.
overall my goal. Like when
Yeah.
I'm offering people shows, sometimes they'll tell me they don't have the work together, and I will urge them that, you know, you've got 6 months, like
Yeah.
start making.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the deadline is what inspires them to get it done.
Yeah.
And I think the gallery is really well publicized. In just a short amount of time, I feel that a lot of people already know about it. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, I think the Centennial artists, many of them were also displayed at the recent Eric show at the Union, because I remember seeing how many students were represented from Centennial.
Yeah.
So, give them another showcase.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Okay, well, thanks very much.
Yeah,
Sounds
thank
like
you.
it was a successful program. Okay, our next grant presentation will be by Jeff Glassman from Theater of the Hummingbird.
I take this one by now.
Yeah, you can take mine out. That's the
Oh,
big one.
okay.
Yeah.
I have some video and I have some photos. And I'm not sure how much time this should take. 10 minutes? Yeah, about 10 minutes. Okay. So what this is the second Theater of the Hummingbird, which is a fanciful name for Lisa Fay and myself getting together a group of young people. The first time it was high school age, and the second time, just recently, it was middle school. We're trying various versions of this project in order to eventually, maybe over several years, create an ongoing group. It might actually be 4 or 5 years. An ongoing group of young people who create their own theater work based on their own priorities of importance about the way the world looks to them and what they talk about, what they choose to talk about, where they work as an ensemble. We work as consultants, organizers, a second opinion if they ask us, but not as the primary creative movers of the work. And we see what they come up with, and we give them, the idea is that we give them the whole experience of working together as a peer group ensemble, artistic ensemble, which they, I think, they meaning young people generally, can do very well. It seems like problems with doing that come later in life. But they start out knowing how to play well with others. They really do that. So we have to pull back a little bit and not get in their way. So this was the second time. We put it right between Christmas and New Year's, which is a little risky. It turned out very well. There were 9 participants. We kept it to a very short time in order to squeeze it into that slot. 27th, December 27th, 28th, 29th, 30, and 31st. And 31st, they made a performance at Pizza M, publicized. It was well attended by about, I'd say, 40 people. And we worked together with Pizza M. We worked together with Community Center for the Arts for a second time in both cases. We were delighted with the results. The kids had a great time. We had a great time. And we look forward to a cascading momentum for this kind of thing. Lisa and I have lived in Urbana, actually, for a long, long time. Me since late 60s. And we've always been based artistically in Urbana. That has advantages and disadvantages to it. The disadvantages is if you're not in New York or LA or San Francisco or Chicago, you are officially automatically not qualified for certain kinds of support, and then unofficially, you're even more definitely not qualified for all kinds of support because you're not part of that social artistic circle where the money circulates. It doesn't filter down very much. And as you know, the Illinois Arts Council is having lots of problems right now, as the state is also. So we don't have that as a real option. Let's see, the other thing that I want to mention is that we are trying to relate what we do here with young people to what we do in Seoul, South Korea, with a corresponding group of young people who we've been working with since 2007, about 6 times now, where we do a set of workshops within a 1 to 2 week period with that group, and then they perform. And we're somehow in our dream thinking that these 2 locations can come together. Last time I was in Korea, which was right before this current Theater of the Hummingbird in December, I was showing some of the video from the first Theater of the Hummingbird group to the group I was working with at the Cultural Center in Seoul. And they were fascinated. They were trying to figure out, like, first of all, what are they talking about? And who are they, and how do they come together? And they recognized immediately, of course, the parallel between them and them there and us here. And we want to see where that goes. Eventually, some sort of exchange would be nice, but for sure, in video, we could do that. Video and Skype and things like that. So, would you like me to answer to or go through anything of the report itself, which I think you have probably? Or should I go to video, some video clips?
Why don't you go ahead with the video
Okay, and then
clips?
there's particular things that you would like to know, you
Right,
could
we
ask
can-
me. Okay. So, take you to a couple of my favorites. Okay. They called the show Go Home and Change the World. I'm not sure what to do with this.
Click the top one. Top
Top one? Okay, thank you. Okay. Should it be loading now?
You can minimize the window that's up at the moment,
Okay.
and so there you go.
Yep,
There.
great, okay. Well, this is just the credits, but I'll jump past that. We also we burned this DVD for each of the participants and also another DVD with photos for them. And these are the students, the kids who took part. Some of them come from the Bloomington Normal area, 1 or 2, and another one comes from Rantoul. So their parents came in every night. Okay, let's see. I will go to.
Built down the street. Wow, super fun. Street, 12 how times are rough. All useless trash that people do not need. Unlike in withering fields where families survive by every single seed. So don't buy all these useless things. And you'll give more happiness to the world than you could ever imagine it brings.
There's coming a
We need to stop
3-minute
war, stop
piece
hunger and
that I'll let you
prejudice.
watch.
And death of creatures full of innocence. All these voices bang at the door of the world. I can't take it. It's too much. I'm just a girl. The darkness closes in, and I am too weak to hold back the wall of sin that the world pushes down upon me.
Thanks for letting me volunteer at the soup kitchen. I'll be there next week with more food. Oh, we need 25 people? Okay. Have a nice day. Hey, Charlotte.
Don't you have a minute to talk to your own sister?
All you do is sit around planting trees and flowers and all that when you could be helping the people.
The people. It's always about the people. People. People don't do anything but harm each other.
Well, all you do is sit around planting trees, and you could at least be stopping world hunger. I mean, like, seriously.
Well, it would help if people stopped cutting down all of the trees that people need to breathe.
Well, there's more people than trees.
Because people keep cutting the trees down.
Whatever.
I'll bet that more people care about the earth than they do about people.
Well, I bet people care more about each other and themselves and stuff like that than the earth.
Okay, meet me at the park at 5.
Okay, be there.
Vote for the earth! I say people, you say not! People! People!
Come on, seriously, you're killing
Hold this right now. You two need to work together and stop fighting. Because if you give food to people, people will notice how nature looks around them. And they will make nature look better by helping animals and plant food to stop wars and hunger. It will solve your problems by working together. You can help each other because more people are focused on Earth instead of people. And if you help people first, they will repopulate, more people will have food and help Earth. I vote for both of you. That will never work. You'll see.
Thanks for letting me volunteer at the soup kitchen. I'll be there next week with more food. Okay, have a nice day.
Wait, that might work. Hey, Charlotte. Here, I'll give this potato to the soup kitchen, and you can finish the garden.
Yeah, here.
So that's like one piece within the larger work that they made. It was about a half an hour performance. And the problem, like you heard, was first stated as like a contention between those who wanted to do immediate, small, person-to-person help between people, and the other, what about the overriding system of the environment and the planet? And they contended with one another, and then Jasmine in the middle, she worked out this difficult connection between both of them that made them both necessary to one another in an overriding system. She worked a long time on the wording for that because it had some logical difficulties in it. I mean, it was a really complex idea. And we finally worked out that she would just present that as almost a lecture to the two people contending, and then that was shown to resolve the problem, at least between the two of them. So and there were other things. We started on the first day with a table like this, laid with paper, and the kids all like mapped out what was important to them and what words would they use to describe and name that importance. And then the connections among them by drawing lines from one to another, then discussing what's the relationship between what she put here and what he put there. And then does that spark in your mind a new area that's being overlooked? We worked with that, and then they grew from that into writing and working together in groups on these pieces, and then putting them all together in a show. But that was in a very short time. That was like 27, yeah, did we start on 27? Yeah, 27, 28, 29, 30. The 31st they performed. So it was a total of, I believe, 12 hours preparation. So really fast. I know it worked. Is there?
Anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, well, thanks very much.
Thank you for making it possible. We really needed that boost, and also it's nice to have the tie to the community, you know, to have the verification that it's of interest to do something like this.
Well, we appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, our next grant presentation is going to be from Sarah Tavis from King's School.
Yeah, it was. I hope.
Hello. Welcome.
I want to, first off, thank you very much for offering the opportunity to have Art in Schools grants. With the renovation of King's School just recently, it created a beautiful courtyard that had grass in it. And a lot of the teachers had bonded together and recreated the area for learning spaces such as Natural Illinois Prairie, and we have a lot of activities going on, science activities in the courtyard, and my art room faces the courtyard, so I see all these activities going on. On the other side of the windows of the courtyard is a long hallway that's just blank. And I just thought, you know, what a wonderful opportunity to maybe do a mural, because students don't really get an opportunity to do murals because it's such a unique, huge project. When I applied for the Art in Schools grant, I was very happy that I was one of the recipients, so we could fund this project, because I knew the kids would have a unique opportunity to do something that they might not never do in their life. I was looking around for an artist that would be just right for the job. I found Glenn Davies. I'm sure you've seen some of his murals around town. They're very sort of cheerful and playful, and he does a really great job. What I didn't know is how well he worked with school children. I had no idea how many different murals he had done with schools. And so we had met a couple times and talked about it, and he described working with a core painting group, basically. I decided to work with the 4th and 5th graders at King's School, and we had a group of students, about 4 groups of 6 to 8 each. King's School is quite unique because of its variety of different languages spoken, so it's sort of hard to plan, you know, chunks of time to do this project, but we worked it out. And Glenn was really good about teaching them not only just to paint a mural, but to really go through the process of background, you know, foreground, talking about shadow, use of shadow, lights and darks, different values, how to mix paints. And it was really a wonderful experience for them, something I hope they remember for a long time. as far as the topic for the mural, we decided to sort of celebrate some of all the activities that we had been learning in the courtyard. Different activities such as planting those wildflowers, planting gardens to support, healthy eating, making salads. We had our dance and drama students, doing dances with scarves. Some of our teachers were teaching the students mindfulness with the use of yoga, and I'd look out and they'd be doing yoga in the courtyard, and I was thinking of all these opportunities as being really fantastic. I quite often have the kids grab a piece of paper and go out into the courtyard and do some sketching of all the different insects and things like that. So originally we were going to have the mural be about 4 8-foot panels long. We were able to financially support about half of it. So what we decided to do was to make it look complete, but then next year I'll be looking for funds to extend it on. Let me show you some of the pictures here. I'm sorry, I'm not quite finding this here. Is it the PowerPoint here or the play? Oh, here it is. There we go. Sorry. Okay. Okay, inspirations for learning. And you see a little bumblebee here. The students planted pumpkins, and one of the teachers help harvesting the pumpkins and talking about that whole process. We have lots of little wildlife come into our courtyard. Here's a picture of some students. We were drawing sunflowers from observation. Here are our dance and drama students dancing with scarves out in the courtyard. The Schoolyard Habitat Program was funding the restoration of the Illinois Prairie in our courtyard. These were all inspirations. Okay, here are some of the plants. So with mural artist Glenn Davies, you can see him here spending time sort of talking about planning out what we're going to put where. What I was really, really impressed with as you look through these pictures, when you see the mural, it's almost unbelievable that 4th and 5th graders painted this, but he has a way of working with the students where he's teaching them how to go about completing the mural, and he will maybe suggest doing like the clouds up here, make a couple little charcoal lines, but they do all the painting. All the painting is done by the students, which was really fantastic. I was very happy to hear about that. We're preparing the background here. And the students are painting over some gray shapes. They created a gray shape over the background so the colors would sort of pop out and look very lively. Ooh. Okay, here we have more pictures of different core groups of painters working together. And here are some final pictures of portions of the mural. It is 2 big 8-foot lengths. And you can see, we are the King School Monarchs, and we raise monarchs from caterpillars. And we are in a process of learning to grow the milkweed, and we release the monarchs and track them across the country, which is a fun activity. You can also see some different activities going on with teachers and students. Another grant provided for the tables. And here we have our principal, Dionne Webster. She always loves orange, so the kids wanted to paint her in there too, looking on at the activities. The kids really got a kick out of putting what they have learned into the mural. Mm-hmm. And here's couple students looking at caterpillars. See a little yoga going on. And even, you know, the treatment of the building and the background, it just makes it look so realistic. I mean, it's not true realism, but it's very, I don't know, I really enjoy his style. Kids were planting things. And you can see here in the green shirt that the attention to the different values of green, showing where the light source came from, and the shadows even being cast on the wall. The students really did learn a lot. Another thing I wanted to mention was it wasn't just the core students of painters who were working with us. He collected sketches from, in my classes I had the students collect ideas of things they wanted to have in the mural. So really, there were many, many students involved with this, and they can come and look at the mural and say, oh yeah, I wanted a caterpillar in there, and they can find that. It was a fantastic project, and I really do appreciate that the funds were available for the Art in Schools program. I want to thank you.
Very good. Anyone want to comment?
You're going to apply next year so you can finish the murals on the wall?
Well, as I understand it, you wait a year, I guess, in between for the Art in Schools.
Car washes.
I think not necessarily.
Not necessarily?
We don't have that established.
Okay,
so
well.
Feel free to apply again this year.
Okay, well, great. Okay.
It's a nice project.
Thank you.
Okay,
The
well,
students
thanks very
loved
much.
it. Thanks.
Okay, next we'll have the monthly progress report.
So I'll start by talking about the grants program. Basically, it's done. We did another cycle, and right now I'm just in the process of getting the grantees to sign their agreements. And just as a reminder, we have a reception this Friday at Pizza M, and the deadline to RSVP is today. So let me know if you're thinking about coming, or if you just let me know even tomorrow. That's fine too. And I hope to see you there. It'll be a big party. We have over 50 people RSVP, so hopefully it's a nice day out so we can keep the doors open and so people can flood out. And last weekend was the Artist of the Corridor reception. The current artist is Peggy Flavin, who Travis actually mentioned in his presentation earlier. But she's not doing her crazy string installation here because of our space, so she has paintings up. And she also has paintings up at the library. And the plan was also to have her show her 3D artworks at the library because they have this exhibit case. But I don't think that's happening because I think she's not ready yet with the artworks. So the library went ahead and filled up the exhibit case with something else. But this picture is from the reception on Friday, and I wasn't able to make it due to a personal
Barbara would like to say something?
I was going to just comment about this photograph when there's an appropriate moment.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, well, you notice that the young man is being photographed. He is actually standing in front of the painting where this blue painting behind him. He is the figure. He's Peggy's little brother.
Oh.
And so everybody was, and I think that's his parents, her father taking the photograph. But they all wanted to know who was the model, and she went, "This is my little brother." And so
That's
I
so
suggested
funny.
they get a photograph of him standing in front of the artwork. It was cute.
That's cute. And actually, about 2 or 3 people have come up to me either just in person or by phone and asked about purchasing her work.
Great.
Yeah, I
they've
saw
been
one I
quite
was
popular.
interested in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe she'll sell something in this exhibition, which is, it doesn't happen too often, but when it happens, it feels pretty good. Last weekend, just a few days ago, was the Boneyard celebration at Boneyard Creek Improvements Project, Race and Grace Street in downtown Urbana. And I received feedback from some of you in the Public Arts Commission survey that we need to be more inclusive and make sure we do outreach to also non-English speakers. So I asked one of our performers who speaks Spanish to help me translate the poster, and she was really happy to. So we had these posters in 2 languages. And it was a colder day that day. So the turnout was not as good as last year. It was still pretty good. I think they all still made it because there was the bubble guy, and all the parents wanted to bring their kids to see the bubble guy. But it was fun, and if you see on the left, that's the pins designed by a local artist named Judy, and Judy led this really fun scavenger hunt that's more than just the usual scavenger hunt. It's a lot of fun, and the kids had a blast, and if you complete the hunt, you get a pin. And there was also capoeira performance and music the plan was to have the Safinado perform, but because it was cold, they had to cancel. And so thankfully, I got a last-minute replacement, and so members of Bones Jocks, a local favorite, got to perform. And around the park, we installed banners by students from the local school district. For Art at the Market, we finished scheduling all the artists for the season. So instead of 5 dates, now we have 6 dates. And this is one of the performers chosen, Magville. And they're really excited about this because they wanted to perform at last season, but then it was too late to register. So I think it's great to have new faces too, so we don't have the same program every year. And we have kind of big news. It's not official yet, but we applied for this grant opportunity from the NEA, the National Endowment for the Arts, a few months ago, and we've been recommended for $50,000 in funding. It's not final yet, so we need to submit some additional materials, but hopefully this is finalized once we submit everything. And as a reminder, this is our project that we're partnering with UCIMC, the Independent Media Center. And basically it's a project that includes arts workshops and dialogues with youths in Urbana. And it's to increase their civic engagement and to teach them various styles of art and to get them more connected to downtown Urbana, which we think right now is not as inclusive as it could be. So that is basically the project. We also applied to a different grant opportunity by the NEA. This is in partnership with the Public Art League. And unfortunately for that one, we were not recommended for funding this year. For Art Now, this month's episode has Dennis Rowan, and John interviewed Dennis. I believe Dennis was a faculty member at U of I before he retired, and he does these whimsical, really fun collages. And as for marketing, right now our Facebook has 1,085 fans. Our Twitter has 1,648. I feel like the Facebook and Twitter accounts that we have are always growing really fast. And Instagram, we have 121 followers. And right now we have currently one ad up on smilepolitely.com, and this is the ad. It's to promote the Artists of the Corridor exhibition.
There was a representative from Smile Politely who was at the reception, at the opening reception, friend of yours.
Yes, I haven't actually met her, but I emailed her. I keep her in my media contacts, so I sent her press releases.
I spoke with her. She was impressed.
Oh, good.
I was thinking perhaps maybe there was a forthcoming article coming out about it, or about our program. I talked to her quite a bit.
Her specialty is Workspace. It's a new column on Smile Politely, and she goes around town and visits artist studios, and she conducts an interview with them It's pretty new. I think she's only featured maybe 4 artists total so far. And I thought, maybe she would be interested in meeting Peggy, so I invited her to this reception. So that's all I have for the staff report.
Okay, and then I believe we're going to move on to a discussion of the Urbana Arts Grants Program.
Yes. So as I mentioned, this has it's basically reaching completion. But I don't know if anyone has anything to add or comment on. I know, Pat, you served on a jury this year, so feel free to share your comments. I guess I can.
Well, and Sarah did too.
Oh, Sarah did too. I'm sorry. But just to note, this year it's quite competitive. We received 61 applications. Last year it was 44. The previous year it was 40. So it's getting more and more competitive. And this year also we have a later deadline. Usually our deadline is about January. And I know it's been moved to February and then back to January and then February again. So this year it was February 12th. And I know some organizations kind of had a deadline when they have to know that they get something, so because they need to do their annual planning and whatnot. So I do feel very rushed this year, and I think next year I may have to push it kind of earlier again, back to January, because I try to notify all the grantees in mid-March, and because considering the volume that's unexpected, it was a bit challenging.
Yeah.
If Sarah or Pat has any comments on the panel?
It's always enlightening because you always see it from many different perspectives, depending on who happens to be on the jury. I think we got a lot of much more, I want to say, sophisticated entries this time. We have Deke, we have some of the others. I did wonder if maybe it's making it hard for people who are starting out at the first time of writing a grant to do it. I know we do offer the workshops, but I can see where it might be difficult for a first-timer maybe to compete.
Yeah,
So.
I can't remember if there is a first-timer who, or a very emerging artist who got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is difficult for some to compete with, the professors and whatnot.
Right.
I do try to make sure they know that they can contact me if they have any questions. And, sometimes I lost my train of thoughts.
Yeah, it wasn't really so much criticism as just a reflection on.
Yeah. There's something to think about.
Yeah.
I think it is very important that you mentioned that. I think we're doing the right thing by separating the two different categories, so individual with group and then nonprofits with festivals, because those two should not be considered on the same table.
Right. Did you want to say something?
Well, it's interesting, though, just as an observation, something that I've become aware of just very recently, only because I was contacted by the person who's coordinating the Youth Literature Festival.
Yeah.
And she started explaining to me and asking me some questions about live music, and at some point I began to realize, one of our grant recipients who's from the Puppetry Guild is participating in this program, and they would like to have some live musicians come and perform for the Youth Literature Festival. So we have this combination of not-for-profit and the other groups, but they're all starting to collaborate together, and that seems very promising to me.
Yeah. It is really cool to see when people meet through the grants or because they hear of the grants and then they seek out partners. And I heard another story that last year at the reception, 2 organizations met for the first time and they didn't know that the other existed before that, but this year they're collaborating. So
nice.
that's good news.
And I can tell you this one will be in the item number 9, the Youth Literature Festival is the weekend of October 22nd at the iHotel.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I know that now.
Yeah.
Sarah, did you want to make any comments? I know this is your first time on a jury.
It was interesting to me the number of different things that were very, very different from each other, and it made our job on the jury difficult because apples and oranges, and
Right.
sometimes of a variety that you didn't recognize.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's also difficult to judge when people are starting out a project what their need really is versus what our perception of their need
Yeah.
And I'm interested to see how many of the ones that we chose come to fruition
Mhm.
and the way in which they come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think on the whole, though, most of the things that have received grants have turned out pretty well. I mean, I think probably maybe even better than we could expect from any, generic grant program. So,
Yeah, because of our requirement too, for them to do a report and presentation, it pushes them to document their events well and keep track of their financials very well. And this is just a random thought, but I think also this year it's way more competitive because we have many more applications because of the current state funding. I think some projects that would get funding from the university usually, for example, are not getting it there anymore, so they come to us.
or the Arts Council.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
All of the above.
Yeah.
So
I
I
think
think
that's
that's it
it.
for
Yeah.
the grants program, unless anyone has anything else to say.
Okay, I think we can move on then. Next, we have some old business, the acquisition of the stranger reduction zone.
Yes. I mentioned this, I think, at the last 2 meetings. We have the sculpture in front of the Urbana Free Library, and it looks like a traffic light, but it's more fun because there's a smiley face and people shaking hands instead of the green lights, and there's a button that you can push, and it would greet you in different languages. I think it's really cute. And the artist approached me and said that if we want to purchase it, because right now it's just on lease and it's expiring this fall, so we would have to either return it this fall or purchase it so we can keep it permanently. And we rented this for 2 years for $2,000, and there's only, so that can count towards the purchase, and so we need to only pay $2,500 more to purchase it permanently, which I think is a pretty good deal. So we published a survey, and it was open for public, and people let us know what they thought, and about 70% of the respondents asked that we keep it. So that's really great. Some of them also wrote in some additional comments. So I don't know if you would like to hear some of those comments. There's not really a pattern. Just all the comments are pretty different. Some say it's great because it kind of helps the entrance in terms of aesthetics. Some say it's distracting. Some say it's actually not distracting. Some say it's great for families and kids and make the library look so welcome. And some say that it's dangerous. What if kids do this with a stranger?
Oh, dear.
I don't know.
Oh, dear.
Some say it makes them forgive the library for making them pay for parking. And someone says it makes them feel like they're living in Gilmore Girls. I don't know what that means. So there's some funny ones in there. But
Show, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the answer that keeps recurring is that they think this is the perfect location because it's Urbana and it's diverse, and also it's at the library, so it's supposed to be a welcoming place. But also I have several respondents say that the location could be better because they had never seen it until they entered the library from this entrance, which is not often. So that's all from that's the most interesting comments, I think. But there are many more if you want to hear more.
I wanted to share one stranger reduction zone comment I heard. I had dinner with some friends who are visiting from Israel, and they said their children, every time they run up and they push the button until it cycles through and they hear the hello in Hebrew, and they laugh and laugh because it's such a funny accent. They said
But you know what? I think that's classic here. I think we all try to say hello in another language, and
Yeah.
we probably all mess it up, So I think that's great.
I think it's funny that people said it's distracting because I did not know it was there until you brought it up. But then when I did go see it to see it, I think it's really great, and I think it is very cute, and I think thinking of it as just a fun thing for kids and for families is nice, but it also is an actual pretty impressive piece of artwork.
Right.
So I think it's a really great thing to have.
Yeah, I think if we do decide to purchase it, one thing to do is that we need to make sure more people know about this.
Mhm.
It is easy to just walk by and not even notice it because it looks like an everyday object just
Right.
on the sidewalk. So we can think of some ways to maybe make it more
Barb?
known.
Is it a thing that can be moved? Like, does it have permanent power underneath it?
No, no,
it-
it has to have a power source.
But it could be moved as long as it has a power source.
Yeah.
And it was
That's the
difficult to
question.
find a place where there's a power source, and that's why it was
Yeah.
placed there. But it can be moved.
Yeah. You
Mhm.
might want to move it from time to time, just for special events, maybe, or a parade float or something, who knows? You know,
Possibly.
You never know what potential it has.
Sure,
We'll
yeah.
find out in time. Do you think Melissa Murley would write an article in her art columns?
Probably.
You know,
I think
especially if we buy it, I think. That
Yeah, I think that's news
Well, or even
material.
if we're considering buying it and she
Yeah.
wants to get feedback from the public, maybe you could enhance the efforts you made with the survey.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's worth asking, I suppose.
Sure. And I will mention in my later presentation on our annual plan, but I'm proposing that we allocate $6,000 for sculptures next year,
Mhm.
which means if we purchase this, we'll have $3,500 left. And I think last year we spent more than that, but the amount that we spent on the sculptures brought here by the Public Art League was about that amount.
What's the average rental if we
Mhm.
rent something versus
We-
purchase?
I'm
What's
sorry?
the average rental?
$2,000.
Average
Some
on
of them
all
are
of it.
1,500, some are 2,000.
Yeah.
And last year we had some individual sponsors who placed sculptures in Urbana, so we assisted in installing those sculptures, but we didn't sponsor them.
Well, is this coming year one of those when we are supposed to be doing sculptures? I know we do it every other year.
Yes, this is a sculpture. This coming year is
Yeah.
a sculpture year.
Okay. Well, I must admit, it doesn't leave much for any other sculptures.
Yeah, that's true. Well, last year we only sponsored one sculpture through
Okay.
PAL, and it was $2,000.
Okay.
I think PAL does a pretty good job soliciting individual donors too.
Mhm.
So it helped last year that we got some individual donors who brought sculptures to Urbana.
Right, we did.
The other
Yeah.
consideration is that it would be a one-time expense.
Mhm.
You know,
Oh, certainly.
forever after, you'd never have to spend the money.
Oh, certainly.
You know?
Yeah.
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 Just for maintenance.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who paid for the original installation on this?
We did.
We did
We
because-
sponsored this one, so
Yeah.
it was $2,000 to bring it.
It was one we rented.
It was
The
it was
installation was 2,000?
Oh, well, no,
Oh.
the installation is always done by
done by Public
the
Works.
city, by Public
so
Works.
it's just in kind.
Do we know what the cost, because we were talking about maybe moving it somewhere else, do we know what that
Oh,
costs?
yeah.
Oh, good point.
Oh, it
No,
could be
we
a
don't.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know,
Actually,
that's why
yeah.
It might be risky, too. I don't
It
know.
is pretty substantive, but our Public Works Department has been consistent in basically donating that.
absorb that cost.
They absorb that cost. It's
Well, that was
it's
good.
effectively an in-kind contribution from the city, but
Mm.
it's something Public
I
Works
bet
has
it was
has
more
been
than
good
$20.
about. Yeah, probably.
Good guess.
The library has not contributed to this thing.
No.
No. And I
Other
asked
than
for
to give
their
the
thoughts
space.
on this piece, and the person I talked to, Catherine Wicks, who's the associate director, she likes it very much, and I asked her to ask around and see if the other staff members had any other thoughts, and she said there's no negative comments on it, and they all would like to see it stay.
Yeah. I asked a member of the library staff, but they, like Jason, go through the other door, so they never saw it.
I almost wonder if it's actually kind of nice that it's hidden, because then it kind of like will always be new
Mhm.
in a way. Like, and
Mhm.
also it doesn't. I mean, I think it gives it a little bit more of a lifespan. That like there's not always people messing with it essentially, because it is
Yeah.
something that's
Yeah.
interactive. So it's
Yeah,
gonna
that's
get
true.
worn,
Yeah.
and it's kind of a neat little secret
Yeah.
in that corner.
Mhm.
I agree.
So I'm not sure if we are ready to maybe make a decision on this, or I don't know if you would like more time to consider it.
Can we take some kind of straw poll? Is that a possibility, or is it?
Do we still have to get in?
Also, is there a deadline for the artist as far as?
So the sculpture was installed in October, so it will be deinstalled at the latest, beginning of this October.
Okay.
So as long as it's before that, we do have to submit our budget proposal very
Right.
soon.
Right.
So if this,
So it would be helpful to you if we could make a decision today, is that correct?
it would be helpful, or at the latest next month,
Okay.
I guess.
Well,
I'll second
can
that.
we, I'm sorry?
Ginny had a comment.
I was going to say next month. See if we can find some resources in the meantime. I think we should purchase it one way or the other.
Okay. Well, I guess, though, the thing is that she's got to include it in the budget no matter what the source is, right? So,
And this is not a separate item the city council has to approve, right? Or is it all part of our budget
no, I
that they
think-
I don't
approve?
believe it would require a separate action. The amount budgeted could be, if you were to decide not to pursue this purchase, that same budgeted amount could be used in the sculpture program. I mean, the
Oh, okay.
budgeting
Well, in that
isn't
case,
so
perhaps we should just
specific
go
that
ahead
you'll
and
be
vote
locked
on
in.
it today.
I move that we purchase the stranger reduction zone sculpture.
Okay.
Show of hands or how?
Oh, we need a second.
Oh, second.
Okay. Okay, all in favor of purchasing the sculpture?
Aye.
Please
Aye.
raise your hand and say aye. Okay. All opposed? Okay.
Okay,
I think it's passed.
all right. Thank you.
Okay, and then we're going to move to new business, and we'll be talking about the annual strategic plan.
Sure.
I gather he's setting up for something that starts at 6. I know the city staff members let him in.
I see.
I'm not sure.
Okay, so, whoops. Well, the annual strategic plan, I'll just go over my proposal for next fiscal year. I guess for the Urbana Arts Grants Program, I propose that we keep it at $47,500. And it seems that the categories this year works pretty well, so I'm planning on keeping that. So individuals, groups, nonprofits, and festivals are the 4 categories we have this year. And then for the Bonnier Creek celebration, last year we budgeted $2,000 for this fiscal year, and I don't think it's going to be. I don't think we need that much for next year. So I'm proposing $1,500 for this coming year. And murals on glass, I'm proposing a 0 because this is not a murals on glass year because it alternates with the sculpture project. So this year is a sculpture year. And so for sculpture, I'm proposing $6,000. And as for art at the market, there's a bit of an increase. Last year, we had $2,000, and it was from May to September. But this year, we're going to have art at the market from May to October. I think the program has done both ways. Sometimes it goes to September, sometimes it goes to October. Sometimes we don't like October because it's a bit risky in terms of weather. But last year it was perfect. It was really warm in October, so we did one anyway. So because it's 6 dates now instead of 5, the proposed amount is $2,400. And for art in the schools, we're keeping it at $3,000, and this can be awarded to up to 2 schools, just like this year. And then this year it was funded. The fund was awarded to King School and Wiley School. Sorry, Prairie School. And Urbana Art Expo, last year we spent about $1,500, and I'm proposing we keep the amount at $1,500. We're thinking about, there are some conversations about making it 2 days this year, and it's not decided yet. But I think even if we go to 2 days, we can still keep the cost about the same, mainly because most of the expenses are just equipment, which is about the same. And for marketing, this year we're only going to spend about $3,000 by the end of the fiscal year, and I propose we have the same amount for next fiscal year. And for public arts intern, I'm proposing we do $2,430. So this makes the total $67,330, which is a bit less than last year. But then last year we had murals, which are cheaper than sculptures. Are there any questions or comments?
I do wish that you had just provided us with a sheet with the numbers. It would have been a little easier for us.
Oh, yeah. It's in the meeting packet, in the
Is it?
last
Okay, I must have
page.
missed it then.
Yeah, you have
Oh,
to go
okay, I
past
see
them
it.
all, and then
Oh,
it's in the
okay.
back. This is the
Okay.
last page.
Okay,
She
got it.
zipped through it quickly.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh.
Any comments? Wanted?
I think she's using the money very well and very thoughtfully.
I have a question, not about this, but just about thinking back about the Boneyard and the date.
Mhm.
Wasn't it later last year?
Last year it was April 11th, so a little bit later.
It was later?
Mm.
Well, I think they're
Yeah.
trying to time it with the Mom's Day weekend at
Right,
the
yeah.
university.
No, I understand.
So it's kind of tied to that.
Maybe they should move Mom's Day weekend later, so we get
Yeah.
more people coming to Urbana.
I think many years ago it was even later, but
I was kind of remembering, but I wasn't
Well,
sure.
they're also
Yeah.
trying to, I think, work around Ebert Fest as well.
Right. Uh-huh.
So
Mhm.
it doesn't fall at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's hard because everything gets crammed into April.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. Make sure there's no football games that day.
That's a
Yeah.
busy
It's never ideal.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted the commission to know about one initiative that I'm working on with the finance department and the community development director as well. In this current round of funding, we're seeking to fund the public arts program with less TIF money and more general fund money.
Mhm.
And what that'll mean is that with TIF money, that means that those funds need to be expended within the TIF districts. And so basically we would be looking to create an opportunity to transition to give more autonomy and flexibility to the public arts program because the source of the funding won't be restricted.
Yeah, I think
So,
that's a good idea.
We'll see how that fares in the process, and that'll
Right.
be reflected then in how grants and other projects can be funded.
That would
Good.
especially help with the grants because it's tricky to make sure that certain projects happening in certain locations, and you had to divide up the projects by location, which is also tricky to do because some projects happen in multiple locations, and then
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, it sounds like a reasonable budget to me. Do we need to vote on it today then?
yeah,
Okay.
sure.
I move that we go ahead and approve the budget as outlined in the packet.
Second that.
All in favor of this budget, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Okay, it's passed.
So I will present this budget to council in late April, and I'll keep you updated.
Okay. Oh, yeah, by the way, why do we have these?
Oh, I forgot to say. So those stickers were made by Judy, the artist from Boneyard,
okay.
and she had a lot left, and she wanted to give you some stickers.
Oh,
and it
that's
says
cute.
Urbana, so if you peel it really carefully,
Yes,
the
yes, it
Urbana.
matches perfectly.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky.
Okay. Did
yeah.
anyone have any announcements they wanted to make before we adjourn?
I have one.
Go ahead, Barbara.
I'd like to invite everyone to the final concert of the Champaign-Urbana Symphony Friday night. It's a wonderful program called the Brass Blowout, and it'll be quite spectacular.
Anyone else?
And I forgot to ask, how was the youth concert?
Oh, the youth concerts, which was mentioned in the report, they were very, very well received. And I received a lot of comments from teachers afterwards, and even from parents who knew me would write and say, my son is still talking about this program. Did you really do all that? And so it was nice. We got a lot of positive feedback. It's harder to get, by the second day, the second group of kids is not as large because it's so close to lunchtime, but in the morning they're just everywhere and they're so excited. It's really wonderful to look out and see them all. And there was a lot of participation between the stage and the audience, so they weren't just looking at and listening to the music. They were actively engaged in the program.
Stephen Althoff is the director, and he has a great rapport with these children there, and that's why they get so engaged. He asks them questions and tells them what to listen for and all this. So it's a wonderful, I think that's money very well spent to bring these school children to the Krannert Center to listen to classical music and how to behave in the Krannert Center. I'm an usher there when they come, and so no problems. Very well behaved.
Well, but they got to
children.
clap and
It's great.
stomp, and they got to
Yeah.
pretend like they were in a rock
Yeah.
concert too. I mean, we
That's
really
great.
crossed over. We didn't want them to think we were all long hairs.
I just have one more announcement. So
ahead.
also in front of you, I think all of you should have it, is the annual report. And that is
Oh.
the final draft that I got printed professionally this morning. Except after I printed it, I realized there is one mistake, and I apologize for
oops.
this.
Uh-oh.
I know, always.
Always happens.
But it's the last page where I list out everyone in the advisory board, and I say that Robin and Kevin's terms ended in 2016, and I meant 2015. So I apologize for that, and I will fix it before I print
Also, you
somewhere.
misspelled my name.
Really?
Oops.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. I'm so sorry. I will also fix that before printing it somewhere.
Another N.
Oh, I'm sorry, Pat.
That's okay.
You know, no matter how
Nobody can
careful-
spell it.
Oh, I should be able to
So
because
even when you're trying to do this, we do this with concert programs. We always have 3 sets of eyes, and no matter how carefully everybody proofs it, you send it to print, and sure as soon, it
Yeah,
always
there'll
never
be
fails.
something.
You find something as soon as it's printed.
You open the first one, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
yes, I
Not
also
for
got
lack
maybe
of
4
trying.
sets of eyes to prove it, so
Okay, Jen,
I
if you wanna go.
apologize. We only printed 30, so I will fix that before I print
That's good.
somewhere.
That's
But
good.
everything else in it should be correct. Feel free to read
That
through
looks
it. Let me
great.
know if you have comments and questions.
I think it
Okay.
looks great.
Thank you.
In that case, if no one else has any comments, I move we adjourn. Can someone second that?
Second.
Second?
We're done?
Looks like somebody's going to have a knee.